I don't think World of Warcraft is new player friendly. Like story-wise, from the early questing experience, combat-wise, it's quite complicated. And today we're going to have a look at a WoW review by someone that is new to WoW and has been playing for 6 months. So yeah, let's see what this person has to say about WoW.
6 months ago, I started playing World of Warcraft, and in this short time I've been in Azeroth, I've learned to kill things, loot things, buy things, and die.
Oh, you picked Warrior.
But through all this, I think I finally gained an at least elementary knowledge of this almost 20-year-old game. So here is my review of my experience.
It's crazy it's that old, right?
With things like turning into a Beyblade, riding dragons, fighting your way through hordes of enemies in dungeons, and playing Pokemon. As someone who hasn't really played any MMOs, I wasn't really sure what to expect, but I did not expect this.
What does he mean? Ah, you went to Goldshire.
You have a lot of options for what race and class you want to be, and I had chosen this Underbite Warrior to be my vessel for eventual mass rad destruction.
You know what? This is what I actually recommend to new players. Like, if it's your first time playing WoW or you have not played it in ages, there are 2 classes I highly recommend. The easiest probably is Beast Mastery Hunter. Go for Hunter, get some pets, and go for the Beast Mastery spec. If you want something else that's easy, pick Warrior, like Fury Warrior, for example. I don't think it is that complicated to play. So yeah, I always recommend Warrior and Hunter for new players. That he picked the Warrior as his first character, that was a good choice actually. Plus Warrior is also pretty fun to play.
For what race and class you want to be, and I had chosen this Underbite Warrior to be my vessel for eventual mass rad destruction. My first step was learning the controls, which involved me pressing almost every button on my keyboard to find something like my inventory. After that was the combat system. My combat style was pretty straightforward. If the button glowed, I pressed button. Just button mashing my way through any form of combat. And over time, I eventually learned what order to press the buttons. And eventually you gain access to a skill tree where you can choose skills and abilities that fit in with your playstyle. But despite my keyboard fearing for its life whenever I saw my foe, I found the combat actually quite enjoyable. Maybe it was because of the class I chose, but there was just something satisfying about becoming a Beyblade and swinging around this big ass sword and demolishing.
I totally agree with him here. Unlike some other MMOs, you actually have a variety of skills you can use in WoW. Like, I don't like where I just have like 4 or 5 skills that I use in my rotation in an MMO. I don't find this enough. And the blessing that we have with like WoW is because it's not on console, we have more skills. Because it's not designed to be for a controller. If you're playing an MMO that's also on console, like the devs often have the issue that they can't give you too many skills in your rotation. And that just makes sense because there are also people on console and they just have like fewer buttons to press there, right? Because a controller doesn't have like a keyboard like 1 to 9 or something that you can press, right? So of course you often have just like 5, 6 skills. Sometimes it depends on the MMO, you have like 8 skills in your rotation. But in WoW on some classes and depending on how you play, you sometimes have like 9, 10 or even more skills that you have to rotate around, including those cooldown skills, right? So that is like what is so fun to me when it comes to combat in WoW, because it's a purely PC game. But I do kind of wish it was also available on console. It would be complex though with the combat then, but then we would have a bigger community, and a bigger community for an MMO is always a good thing.
By becoming a Beyblade and swinging around this big ass sword and demolishing dinosaurs. And now, you might think that after a while this could get repetitive, but the game manages to offset this by increasing the difficulty of the monsters as you progress. Eventually, bosses and monsters have specific mechanics that you have to learn, but fighting monsters and leveling isn't the only thing to do. There are different mini games like this one where you have to collect resources to upgrade a fort and invade the opposing fort, or PvP, which I did try but would pretty much die instantly. Or if you want to do something a bit more chill, there are skills to learn like mining, smithing, collecting herbs, cooking, or fishing. Or sometimes you might stumble across a group of people fighting a huge world boss. And in WoW, everything scales to your level, and you can always progress with your friends even if they are like 20 levels ahead of you. The loot also scales to your level, and you are almost always throwing out your new sword or armor within a few hours. But personally, the most fun I've had in this game so...
That's true, but also not true. Like, yeah, if you're leveling to, let's say, like, until you can go to the Dragon Isles, yes, then it freaking scales. Like, this is the same with Time Walk. It doesn't matter if you do TBC, if you do Legion, or Warlords of Draenor, right? Like, everything scales until a certain level. But once you hit a certain level, you're expected to go to the latest expansion and everything else becomes irrelevant. Unless you're farming for mounts or transmogs. And this is something that I think like they do better in ESO. Because in ESO, every single zone scales with you until even max level. In WoW, it doesn't. So yeah, once you have reached a certain level, it's just over.
Out your new sword or armor
like you
within
need
a few
to go
hours.
to latest
But personally,
expansion.
the most fun I've had in this game so far is when I moved on to an expansion called Spiral Dragonflight. Now this is where it gets fun. You get your own dragon. And honestly, this was super cool. It actually feels like a completely different game. My favorite part though is the flying. It's super satisfying. And you can even do these missions where you fly through these rings and you can customize your dragon. But this is only the tip of the iceberg. All the content that has been released over the past 2 decades. Now here comes the story of the game. Well, the one I did anyway.
What the heck? Oh, excavation. Yeah.
While a lot of quests are copy and paste, collect 10 swamp hippo toenails, which after a while does start to feel tedious and repetitive, and while in the beginning I was reading every single quest, after a while I did start to skip over reading them. But when it comes to the main storyline of the expansions, or this quest about some giant sword that apparently nobody can see, this is where it redeems itself. My only problem is that I hadn't played the older expansions, and the game forced me into one of the more recent ones called Battle of Azeroth, which means that I didn't know anything about the story that had happened beforehand, and the game never...
No, it didn't force you, but the thing is, if you pick the BFA starting experience, right, like you don't get, I think, directed to Chromie, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't done this for a while. Usually I pick the classic experiences, right? Like I've only done like the BFA one, like maybe or 2 characters only. The rest I did like the old school ones. But yeah, like new players should directly be sent to Chromie or something, in my opinion, so they can pick one and not have like this kind of experience and then you're in the middle of somewhere and you think it continues there. Because if you're a new player, sometimes you probably don't even know about Chromie, right? So yeah, and about the story, and this is an issue, he already points this out, and that's exactly what I said for like new players. So we have all those beautiful, well-designed expansions where the devs probably spent like a lot of sleepless nights, like many months in designing those quests, the zones and all that, and then they become irrelevant, like at endgame especially, because once you reach a certain level, like it no longer matters, right? And when it comes to like time walking, I never managed to finish one expansion. I will already be at the max level, and then I get like pulled out of the time walking and says, oh, your journey is over, blah blah blah, return to Stormwind or Orgrimmar, and then I get put to the latest expansion. And I haven't even finished the full story of a time walking campaign. So it kind of sucks. And if you're like a new player, like so much happened from TBC up to like Warlords of Draenor to Battle of Azeroth. Like it's almost impossible to catch up like with everything. They need to have some sort of unique time walking for like new players where all the major events are put together, like all the big things, like the fall of the Lich King, like what actually happened in Cataclysm, why is the land different and stuff. Like they need to have some sort of cut short sort of time walking where just the major events are being held together and new players can pick this. Or they need to find a way where everything becomes irrelevant that happened before. But this is also like not good because you're like there are so many, like there was like so much time spent in designing all that. It would be actually a waste if this all becomes irrelevant, right? So I would rather have like everything summarized in some unique sort of time walking where just the major events are being like put there together and like the side quests are just skipped through or something. That would be actually cool.
The older expansions, and the game forced me into one of the more recent ones called Battle of Azeroth, which means that I didn't know anything about the story that had happened beforehand, and the game never really catches you up on the details either.
Exactly.
I mean, like, I arrived in my tutorial
That's why it's not
and I was already
friendly.
being called the hero of Azeroth and being thanked for saving some princess, which for me never happened. But even just a quick overview of the events beforehand probably would have saved me a lot of confusion about what was happening. I carried on and actually found myself getting interested in the story. And this is where the game introduces more unique mechanics, a more cohesive story and interesting characters. I really liked this character who was the Lower of Death, Warm Samdi, even though he would always talk shit to me after I died.
Well, look at you, the mighty hero.
But probably the most important part about quests in WoW is that it gives you some incentive to actually explore the world.
True.
Worlds, and it is huge. Like, there's so much to explore.
Because you go from zone to zone.
For this dwarf dude, and it took me all over the map to some of the coolest looking places I had seen so far. It is so easy to get lost exploring for hours in this game. Sometimes I would take a break from leveling and questing just to go and explore new places all over the map. I don't know why, but my personal favorites were the swamp looking place with this big toad and the home of the cow people. I'm yet to play the older...
The home of the cow people, well said. Thunder Bluff is also one of my most favorite cities and zones. Like, I love hanging out here. But like, seriously, when it comes to like exploration and like how big the world and map is, I feel like from like all the MMOs, it's definitely one of my top 5 when it comes to exploration. I find like the world of Elder Scrolls Online to be crazy big. I feel like, can you say like RuneScape exploration is kind of fun? Yeah, sort of, right? Like New World is very tiny, so New World forget exploration. But WoW has so much to explore. I would also say BDO is really nice for exploration. Definitely also my top 5. I have not played Guild Wars 2 yet, but I've watched others play, and I feel like the zones are also they're super interesting. So yeah, I would say like those MMOs are like my top MMOs when it comes to like exploration, right? And yeah, WoW most definitely. If you're like a new player and you just want to see different climate zones and stuff, you want to run through the desert of freaking Durotar, do this. Go to freaking Dun Morok, to the snowy mountains where all the dwarfs are and stuff. Like, there are just so many interesting zones. We even have the freaking Marsh of Sorrow, like a swamp area and stuff. You have freaking lava zones and stuff. Like, it's really cool when it comes to exploration. Like, I see, like, while like new players are just so mind blown by this and freaking love the exploration there, because it is really good. It's a big game.
I'm yet to play the older expansions to find out why exactly I am the hero of Azeroth, but after playing and enjoying this expansion, which some people seem to rate quite low in comparison to some others, I'm excited to see what more the story of this game has to offer.
Wait a second, that's not actually true. Someone put Legion at the bottom C tier? Are you kidding me? How is Legion worse than Mists of Pandaria? Like, whoever did the tier list. And Cataclysm is higher than freaking... Okay, like Shadowlands, give it a D even. I don't care. But Legion, there's no way Legion is C. And below Mists of Pandaria. Come on.
Comparison to some others, I'm excited to see what more the story of this game has to offer. So, after playing for these few months,
Warlords of Train are worse than
what's the goal in this game? There
What?
doesn't seem to be any specific ending, because they just keep releasing new expansions to continue the story. So how are people playing this for almost 2 decades?
Wait, what was this? Corgis Unleashed. What the heck? I've missed this one. Is it like a meme or something? Was that really released? Like, what is this? I don't even know about that. Anyone can explain me in the comment section. It's definitely not an expansion.
New
it's a meme, right?
To continue the story. So how are people playing this for almost 2 decades and still finding enjoyment? I know that some people try to get rare mounts.
I remember getting my first one.
Some people just farm raids and dungeons. Some play solely for nostalgia.
Hey guys,
Let's do this. Leroy!
Some do this.
You got a tight little man pussy on you, don't you?
What? I'm in Goldshire now.
Stinks. Nice and good.
But I think what makes the game
OMG.
fun is the people you
What a
play with. The
weirdo.
game basically forces you to find people to help you progress through the game, and in doing
Are
so,
you
you
the
meet some
Motherlode?
people who you end up
Okay, now
playing
we are
with
somewhere
almost all
else.
of the time. While obviously there are some grumpy spoons out there who get angry at you for being new to the game, the majority of people are actually super cool, and they seem really happy that people are just now starting to play the game. People are always wanting to teach me new things, help me through dungeons, and show me around
That's
some of
me
their
right
favorite
there.
places. One
Like, I freak out each time I see a new player. I want to celebrate this person. Like, I sometimes even like tend to give people, I want to just give them something, like gold or pets or something. Like, if I see a new player, I always freak out. I sometimes feel like I'm obliged to give them something even. Like, seriously, that's me.
time I came across these 2 players and we just started.
That's why I always
dancing
keep some
for
spare
reason.
pets so I
They
can
then
give
invited
them
me
and
to their
stuff.
group and asked if I wanted to join them on a quest they were about to do. They also helped me out with some questions I had, like where to find rocks for this mining skill I had just unlocked. And as I progressed further into the game, I eventually created my own guild and found my own small community of cool people. Some of the stories I've heard from people are how they've met their wife, or made life friends from WoW. But even though I'm really enjoying the game, sometimes it does feel like I'm watching a movie after missing the first and most important half. And after hearing these stories, it feels like maybe I missed out on the reason why so many people love the game in the first place. But hey, you never know what the golden days are until you're in them, right? And maybe I'm in mine right now. So should you try WoW? Absolutely, especially if you can get friends to join you. And if not, no stress, I'm sure you'll find some along the way. So, my final rating, I'm going to give World of Warcraft. Also, should I play WoW Classic?
Wait, what?
Just made an album 7.
He gave it a what? Wait, did he? What happened?
I'm going to give World of Warcraft.
He cut it out.
Also, should I play WoW Classic?
Just made an album 7 days.
And yeah, you should play a WoW Classic, I think. I sometimes think actually that WoW Classic is better for new players than a retail WoW. Because with WoW Classic you at least get like the base foundation of the story and everything, right? Because you're in like Wrath of the Lich King era, right? So you can do like the early game questing and stuff, get a bit of like the old school vanilla experience. Then you can head to TBC to level a little bit. Learn more about the demons and stuff, right? About Illidan. And then you get to Wrath of the Lich King. You experience the fall of Arthas and all that stuff. Yeah, I would say like for new players, probably Classic is actually better. And once you've played for several months, you can try out retail. And yeah, if you're playing for the first time, go for Warrior or Hunter. Don't pick a Mage or Death Knight. Like, if you pick a freaking Mage or Death Knight, especially if you play Arcane Mage, you will get totally lost in your rotation. Like, you will have no clue what the heck you have to cast and do. You will die and you will sometimes rage quit because you die to just, like, forgetting to reapply your shield, or you're not using the rotation correctly, so your DPS isn't where it should be. And you will have a hard time in group with dungeons. Like, people will complain your DPS is too low. But if you're a warrior hunter, you're often gonna do fine even as a beginner. But yeah, I'm actually surprised that he gave it a very positive feedback. Like, I'm not trying to hate on WoW or say it's a shit game. Like, I love WoW, but if you're like a new player, you will have a hard time getting used to the game. You get lost quickly, and the story to catch up with it is almost impossible unless they actually find a way to summarize everything with a unique time walking campaign, a new starting quest experience. There needs to be a big revamp anyway, because if you pick like the old starting zones for a quest experience, you end up from like one super pixelated, low quality textures zone at some point after a few days into like a high quality, good texture zone, and you are like, wait, what happened just now? Am I in like a new game or what? Like, what's going on? So yeah, new players get lost pretty fast. But I'm surprised that actually new players still like the game a lot. It's good. Blizzard needs to build on that, because we have an aging community, and there's nothing wrong with having like older players around, but you need also some younger players, because there's also a chance with like older players that they quit the game because they have other things on their mind. They have like kids, they have like a super busy job now, and the people that have the most time is usually like people in their early like 20s, right? Or those that are in college. Like, they can play for ages, especially on the weekends and stuff, right? Like, they can play from morning till night. But like older players, they have a limited time. And this will make also raiding easier, because you have a bigger community and more players to ask, hey, you want to do a raid with me? So yeah, let's get more younger players into WoW, but it's gonna be tough, I think, unless Blizzard changes the starting experience and the catch-up for new players. But yeah, do you guys think that WoW is new player friendly, or are you also like me, where you have a few points to criticize about the game that Blizzard should have a closer look at and fix? I definitely think there should be some fixing done. I hope Blizzard realizes this soon, so we have a higher growth again. But yeah, that was an interesting review. If you guys are new to this channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content. If you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give this one a thumbs up. And I will see you guys next time.